Okay, I think I'm live. Hey everybody, Jeremy here. If you're new to the channel, this is just me hanging out trying to improve my artistic skill by practicing regularly. I'm not a professional artist, I'm just trying to get better throughout the year as part of a self-improvement goal. So I've taken the opportunity to do it live and invite everybody so that they can come and join me. So I do hope that you take advantage of the live chat. Looks like we already have somebody in here already. Hi Richard. Nice to see you again. Um, so yeah, the live chat's there. I'll be checking it throughout this thing, and hopefully we can get a conversation going so that I'm not just talking to myself. Um, so I'm not planning on spending a lot of time on this tonight. Hopefully it won't drag into a couple of hours like some of the other ones, but we'll see. I'm going to put in the time, no matter how long it takes. So what I'm working on today is I'm just going to draw a fairy girl, and I've done some of these in the past to greater or lesser degrees. We'll see how this one goes, but with any luck, it'll turn out decent. So I'm just going to start jumping right in. I've got my paper here. I've got some pencils, same as usual. I'm just going to get started. I don't really have any reference art for this. I kind of have something in mind. I've got a couple of pictures open on my screen, so I'm not even going to bother showing it. But uh, the form I've decided to work on is like a lady, sitting on the ground. Maybe she's sitting on a flower or like a leaf or what fairies do. But she's kind of got this triangular shape, so I'm just going to kind of block that out. And I don't want it to go all the way up to the top because I kind of want to leave some room for some wings to come out. Um, so we'll see how that goes. And then her back actually comes down like this, so I'm going to kind of block that in. This is mostly just sketching tonight. I don't really have like a full piece in mind. I just wanted to kind of like take the opportunity to practice drawing a human figure and seeing where it goes. I think that's kind of straight across. I don't do a lot of drawings of human beings like the full body. I do more portraits whenever I do draw, so I'm not sure if I can get all the proportions correct, but I'm going to try it anyway. So I'm going to kind of block off a head for her. Maybe block isn't the right word because it's kind of like an oval. And she's kind of looking up. So I'm going to kind of draw in like some planes for the eyes. And she's a little bit in perspective. This might be too large of a head. I might need to shrink it down a bit. But what's cool about that, I think that I can add hair and that'll kind of shrink it down a little bit. Let's see, she's got legs, of course. And I'm just going to draw some lines for the legs because I don't really know the shape of them yet. These might be too long, they might not be, I don't know. She's got kind of a butt here. And then it kind of comes up. Again, I'm just roughly sketching. This isn't meant to look phenomenal yet. She's got kind of a long neck. What's great about drawing a fairy is that they don't really exist in nature. So you can be creative with it. Like you can draw a fairy with a very large head, like a bobblehead, big eyes. It doesn't have to be perfectly anatomically correct because it's a fictional creature. Yeah, I think this leg here really needs to come down a little bit. There's actually two legs here, so this line's fine because that'll be her next leg. And that's a little bit above the other. And that's going to come down. She's resting her elbow on the leg here. And then kind of her hand wraps around. And then this leg here, or this arm here is resting on the other leg. And then that kind of wraps around. And then she's kind of got this pose where she's resting her head on her hands. So I'm just going to kind of scribble that in. Because I'm really just trying to make her proportions correct at this point. I'm not really concerned about details. So already I know her head's too big for her body, so I'm going to shrink that down a little bit. And then this is all going to be covered in hair, so I'm not too worried about that. Her shoulder comes around and then down into her arm. Again, you know, just basic shapes. It's not like I'm trying to add any detail or anything like that. I'll probably be drawing over most of these lines eventually. Her hand actually comes up more like this, so I'm going to fix that. It's actually closer to her head, so I'm going to fix that. And then this comes down a little bit more like that. So I think that's good. Now, she does have another elbow resting on this leg. Hey, since you're in here, Richard, let me just say that I do have on my task list to mail that original picture out. I said I would because you were the first person to ever comment on my channel, which I think is awesome. So I'm going to get that in the mail tomorrow. You know, there's like a laundry list of self-improvements I have this year. And one of them is to be more organized and keep track of things like that so that, you know, things don't fall through the cracks. But we'll see how it goes. It's a process. It's only, what, January 15th, so we're halfway through January already. I think I'm doing pretty good with my New Year's goals. I'm not sweating it. The ultimate goal is at the end of the year to have like a body of work to go back on and look at and say, hey, look at what I accomplished over the year. And I think YouTube's a great platform for that because, you know, as long as you don't delete the videos, they're always going to be up there. There's videos, like videos I posted like many years ago, and they're all like set to private, but I've never deleted them. So what's cool is you can always go back and check your progress, see how you're doing. They're all dumb videos. Like they're not even the what is it, 16:9 format, the widescreen format. They're all the 4:3. That's how old they are. But you know, they're not hurting anybody being up there, so I just leave them up there. Let's see. So her thigh comes down. Here. And then I think her thigh actually comes back up like this. Her stomach is here. Don't worry, I'm not drawing a nude. She has clothes. Or she will have clothes. She's a fairy. Fairies wear clothes. And not all fairies, I guess. But in this case, so like, I have some nieces that ask me to draw every now and then. And a popular request is fairies for them. Like, you know, what girl doesn't like fairies? So none of them asked me for this picture. I'm just drawing it to draw it because I wanted to see if I could do well with the human shape. But what's cool is I'll have this like at the ready in case they ever do ask. I'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll draw you a fairy, but I've already got one done. So I'm not going to draw a nude fairy just because I might give this to one of my nieces. Hey, thanks, Richard. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of fun just to hang out in here and chat. You know, if you've got anything on your mind, I mean, we can talk about whatever's on your mind. Probably when there's some decent movies in the theater, I'll probably start talking about some movies I saw. I haven't seen any television shows recently that. Well, that's not true. I saw the latest season of Jack Ryan. That was pretty good. Maybe I'll get around to drawing Jack Ryan sometime. But I saw that this month. Last month there was a lot of Christmas specials. Oh, I'm drinking my typical bourbon tonight, so sorry if that gets in the shot. Um, over Christmas, there was a lot of Christmas specials. The ones that I remember seeing that I really liked is there's a Star Wars. I'm a huge fan of Star Wars, by the way. There was a Star Wars Lego Christmas special that I don't know if it came out this year or if it's been out for a while, but that was pretty good. I enjoyed that. And then Marvel had a. I'm a huge Marvel fan. I probably got my start drawing comics, not professionally or anything, just as a kid drawing comics that I would pick up and I would try to imitate. Like I used to draw GI Joes a lot because that was a comic I read a lot. Um, but yeah, so Guardians of the Galaxy had a really cool holiday special. If you guys are into watching Marvel shows and movies, I think Ant Man, the next one in Ant Man comes out next month. I'm looking forward to that. I think King the Conqueror is going to be a cool addition as a villain. I think he's a very interesting villain. I don't know how he's going to be portrayed in the movie, but I have high hopes. Maybe I'll draw him at some point. I don't know. I kind of want to, every now and then, like tonight, I'm drawing, just stuff that I enjoy doing, just because I didn't really have anything planned. But, I also kind of want to draw things that people want to see. So, like Wednesday Addams is the last one I did, and I really liked that show. That was a cool show. Oh, Yoda? Yeah, absolutely. You know what'd be cool? Like Yoda and also like a baby Yoda. So Grogu. That would be awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely do a Yoda at some point. In fact, I think as a kid I actually drew Yoda. I don't think I still have that picture, but um, yeah, absolutely I would do a Yoda. I'll do any Star Wars character. I love that show. I would use that as an excuse to go back and rewatch it. I would call it research and go back and rewatch it just for just to rewatch it. But I would say that it's for drawing. So she does have a dress, and it kind of comes down this way. So like while I'm drawing this line, that's not part of her body. That's going to be her dress. And again, this is a really rough sketch. I'm not happy with it so far, but it's just getting started, so I can't really complain. I might be drawing her too skinny here in the torso, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I think I think actually this arm needs to come up more, so I'm going to fix that. And then I think that will give me more room to draw her. She doesn't have a belly pouch, so let me straighten that out. Um, and then just a little bit of her breast. And then this is all thigh here. And then I can extend the dress out a little bit. I was thinking, man, that's a really short skirt. She shouldn't be wearing something that short. But anyway, so I got a lot of lines here, so I'm going to erase some just so that I can kind of keep track. All right, so we'll come back to that part. Yeah, she'll have wings. I'm not really sure what type of wings yet. Like, you have a lot of variety in fairy wings. You can do butterfly wings, you can do dragonfly wings, you can do dragon wings. Like if she's an evil fairy, that's pretty popular. Um, I think I'm gonna give her butterfly wings, just like your normal classic fairy. Which some fairy history, and I suppose some. Well, I think a lot of everybody wants to see a nice bosom, but I think on fairies they're kind of petite. They don't really have large breasts, so I'm probably not going to get crazy with it. But you know, they're dainty little creatures. They fly around and stuff. If they had too large of a bosom, it would keep them from flying. That's my thinking anyway. They're purely fictional characters, so I don't think it really matters, but we'll see how it goes. I don't know. Maybe they'll end up being large just because I draw them wrong. So she kind of has a knee that comes around like this. This part is her elbow, and then it kind of comes into the rest of her thigh. She does need a bag of pixie dust. So I don't know how much I'm going to go into like background and stuff like that, but it'd be really cool. Even if I don't draw it, you can imagine her sitting like in a wooded land, on flowers, or a leaf or something like that, because you know fairies are super small. So all this bit through here is just folds of her dress. So I'm just going to kind of put those in. I don't really know what style of dress she's going to have. I'll worry about that later. I'm going to erase some of this because I'm not sure if I got that part right. I think I can come in and I can figure that part out there. So she's going to have this like little frilly thing. She's going to have like, I don't know what women call it, but like an off the shoulder kind of dress. So I'm going to go ahead and try to pencil that in. I'm not a fashion expert. I'm not worried about this backside because I already know that's all going to be covered in hair. I think. So I think this needs to be wider. So this is her shoulder. I'm not happy with it, but I'm going to fix that later. And then this is going to kind of be like a frilly dress or a frilly off the collar part. And then in here, you've got the other side of that dress. And then this will be her other shoulder, which comes into her hands. But this is actually going to be dressed here, so let me draw in some rough sketching just to remind myself of that. So I'll come back and add some more detail there. So I think her arm, an off the shoulder dress. Okay, all right, I don't know. I really don't know these things. So I'm going to slim up her arm because I think I drew that way too thick. And I'm going to erase some of this stuff through here. I'm going to kind of focus on her hand. So one hand comes in and drapes over the other. And then this hand comes down and then her thumb comes out like this a bit. So when I actually darken things in, I'll add some more detail there, I'm sure. She's got two fingers and then a third finger that's kind of behind the others. This one comes out the most. And then that's kind of a finger on. So doesn't look like much yet, but it's the start of a hand. This comes down into, I guess, whatever the forearm is. Yeah, there we go. One of these days I'm going to learn all these anatomy terms so that I can speak intelligently about them. In the meantime, they're just shapes. So, starting to get a basic human form here. Bring this down. So I know that under her dress, she's got a spine, and then her rear end will come out a little bit like that. So it's not exactly matching the triangle that I formed, but I'm happy enough with it. Okay, and then she's got you know, some hair that will come down. I'll just go ahead and draw that in briefly, just kind of put in some shapes for it, even though I know that I'm going to add more detail to that later. And then I kind of want this to come down like this. It's going to be kind of a little bit curly. Oh, hey, Lorraine's in here. Hey. Oh, it was Lorraine who said off the shoulder dress. I'm so sorry. I thought Richard was saying that. Hey, Lorraine, how's it going? How's your guys' weekend going? I know that it's wrapping up, but you know, you still have a few hours left in it. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. What about you, Lorraine? Have you seen any movies lately? Anything interesting? I'm always looking for inspiration of things to draw, and I think movies are great. I think what's best about I think what's best about movies is you know, when you draw something, people recognize what you're drawing. You don't have to explain it to them. Like this is just a generic fairy. Um, if it was like an actual fairy from some movie or something like that, I wouldn't have to tell you that. You would just be like, oh, you know what? This is that thing from that thing. So she's gonna have kind of some waves in her hair and stuff. So the cool thing about hair is you can't really go crazy with it. You know, maybe she's having a bad hair day. Maybe she's just got long curly hair flowing around. The Fablemans. Huh. I'm not sure if I've seen that one. Who's in that? So I'm not going to see her ear much, and let's see, maybe her forehead is a bit much there. Could slim her face up a little bit. Yeah, I think a lot of this is going to be in shadow, so I can go ahead and shadow that in. Blocks of gold. No, well, you're not going to see it because it's going to be in black and white. I'm not using colored pencils this time. So yeah, you can say locks of gold if you want. Use your imagination. There's no wrong answers. I don't think I'm going to draw any particular color, but we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll just get frustrated with the shading of it and it'll just come out brunette because I just shaded all in. So she's kind of got a bit of just a swoosh coming down. I'll come in and add detail to all of this here in a minute. How much is, yeah, this is looking okay on camera. One of the things I wanted to do tonight, oh, Steven Spielberg, about his life. That is something I've got to see. So when I was younger, I was a Boy Scout, and one of the reasons I was a Boy Scout was because Steven Spielberg was. You know, I looked up to Steven Spielberg because I'm a huge fan of the Indiana Jones movies. So I am very interested to see that. What is that streaming? Is that streaming on anything, or is it in theaters, or? So she's kind of got some planes to her face. Now, I'm not going to see this bit here. I think I need to bring that in some. I'm just going to see the eye and like the edge of her nose, I think. Because she is kind of looking up. I imagine there's like a light shining on her face. Like, I think the light is coming in here. I'm like trying on this. Oh, he made movies as a Boy Scout. Yeah, so when I was a Boy Scout, they had a cinematography merit badge that was just introduced, and my dad had like a little cheap camcorder, and I tried to make movies when I was younger. you didn't have the same kind of like, tools that you've got nowadays. Nowadays, like especially with like YouTube, and I mean this camera that's pointing on the artwork is just my phone. Um, Everybody's got like a little movie camera in their pocket these days. It's amazing. You didn't have all that back then. I had like a um, oh, she bought it on iTunes. Okay, all right. Maybe I'll do that because like I'm very interested in watching that. If it was already on one of the streaming platforms I've got Hulu and Netflix, and I'll probably look for it on Amazon Prime. I'm sure it's on Amazon Prime. But what was I saying? Oh, right. So I tried to make movies inspired by Steven Spielberg, and the way I went about it is I made these like little stop action films with my GI Joes, and I don't know. I think it turned out all right. I unfortunately don't have it anymore, so I can't really show it, but it was fun. So she's got a little bit of shadow in here, not much, defining her nose. I think. I think this eye is just a circle. So I don't really know exactly all the details I'm going to add to this, but so I've been told that I don't draw noses very well. So I'm going to try really hard to fix that on this one. I don't I don't agree with that. I think I draw well. Okay, so my first drawing in my one stream, yeah, I'm definitely gonna like the story of Steven Spielberg. Ready Player One. That was a good movie. That's a good movie. I heard the book is good too, although I haven't read it. So I'm gonna try really hard on this nose here, just because I got criticism from the last two that I did. I don't think the Sherlock Holmes nose turned out very well, but it is what it is. So this nose, she's kind of got a pointy nose. I think that's fine. What do you guys think? Does that look like a nose? Looks like a nose to me. Let me get rid of some of these lines here to kind of clean this up a little bit. Okay, let me try to get the mouth in there without making her look like a monster. Fairies are meant to be very pretty, like they're very fair, and you kind of want to do them justice. And not make them look like an old hag. So this is just a generic fairy. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's from Lord of the Rings because the Lord of the Rings fairies. Well, they don't actually have fairies in Lord of the Rings. This would be more like from Peter Pan or something like that. But she doesn't have like a pixie cut. Lord of the Rings doesn't have fairies. They only have elves, which are very similar, but you can't have fairy without wings. Yeah, I wouldn't say that this is from any particular movie. It's just a generic drawing. Just to practice doing a human being. And I'm not doing too hot on her lips at this moment, but maybe it'll come together. I think it looks better in the shading. More add to it. So she's got kind of a, like, I don't know, maybe kind of like a Reese Witherspoon chin. That's mean. So her face is actually kind of small. Yeah, Tinkerbell, but not Tinkerbell because Tinkerbell's got the short pixie cut, and that's so. Fairies and pixies are very similar. They're probably like in the same mythological family. Um, but you know, if you're gonna do a pixie, you probably have like a. Well, I don't know. So I'm thinking Tinkerbell from the Hook movie with oh, what's her name? Um, what's the lady who was in Pretty Woman? Anyway, um, she played Tinkerbell in that, and she had like a pixie cut. Now, if you look at the cartoon version, she's got more long blonde hair. So she's got a really small face, so it's hard to put like every bit of her face is like this fine line detail. But it is what it is. And then she's got kind of a chin that's round, and then it comes up into the base of her mouth. And then this part kind of shaded down, but then comes around as well through here. I mean, it's not exactly what I had in mind, but it doesn't look terrible. I'm gonna like live with this and move on to the next part, which, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and add some hair detail in just so that I know where all these parts are. So it sounds like my dog's snoring over here. So if you guys hear my dog, yeah, Julia Roberts. Oh man, that escaped me. I was thinking Julie something, but the only thing that could come to mind was Julie Andrews, and it's not Julie Andrews. Julia Roberts, exactly. Thank you. All right, cool. I appreciate that, Lorraine. If you don't make it back, you know, we post. I post. I'm saying we like there's more than just me. I post a short of this. I try to get it up the next day. That's kind of like time lapse, so that you don't have to wait through however long it takes for this to. It's been hit or miss. Like some of the ones that I've done, it went pretty quick. It was only like an hour and a half or so, and then the one of Wednesday Adams, that because of all the color and all the stuff I had to put in, it ended up taking 2.5 hours. It's not my intent. My intent isn't to spend 2.5 hours. I just want to practice a little bit with my sketching skills. And then, you know, the great thing about a sketch is it's not really meant to be like a finished piece of art. It's not like this is going up on a wall or something. Um, so it doesn't have to be a finished piece of work. So I'm going to try to keep it in a reasonable amount of time. Even though I'm not really sure how long this has been going on so far. Eh, maybe I'll look later. Yeah, I want to leave it open so that I'm not kind of like boxed in or whatever, but I'm thinking maybe like Sundays, Tuesdays, and then of course Fridays. Fridays are fun. I think Fridays are great for doing these because like it's the end of a week, and you get to kind of unwind from like whatever you were doing that week, which usually for me is taking care of clients with like programming work that I do, website management, things like that. So yeah, I think that's fun. I like doing hair because it's really just like you get to have fun with hair, and clothes are fun because it's basically like just a bunch of folding elements over each other. And then she's also got the rest of her hair coming down and wrapping around her head over here. If it comes up like that. Let's see, how's that looking? Yeah, it's starting to look like a fairy. So the other features of her face are kind of just shading. So I'm going to switch to, I don't want to go too dark. I want it to be kind of like, I don't know, fairies kind of glow. Like literally in some stories. So I don't want to go too dark with some of the shading. But I kind of just want to, in fact I can probably use my blending pencil and just kind of grab some of the graphite that's already there and just smooth some of these features out. Just kind of blend some of this stuff in. I am not a woman, so I do not do makeup, but oh, she's starting to look like someone you know. That's cool. I do not do makeup, but I imagine this is kind of a little bit of the same process that women use to apply makeup. You know, they just throw a bunch of gunk down and then kind of smooth it out with like brushes and stuff. Like I always see them carrying around all these brushes. So I'm a less is more on the blending. Sometimes I see, you know, new artists come in and they just kind of overblend things and make it too soft. And I feel like a good combination is really what you need. So like you do want some details, but then you kind of want to blend and soften some of the other details. This is actually, this comes up like this. So really what I'm wanting to do is kind of soften the features. I want her to be a fair lady. And then there are some parts of her hair. One of the things I'm trying to get out of the habit of is I'll sit down with a mechanical pencil and just do the entire picture in a mechanical pencil, but that's not the best way to go about it. I've got these different weighted pencils, and using those, you can kind of like, you know, you can add more shadow, and it ends up being, you know, a little bit more tight on this, the detail. So I do want like kind of curly cues coming off, you know. She's obviously run a brush through her hair, but I also want it to be a little bit wild, you know. You kind of have to keep track of like, you know, where the hair is going so that it kind of, so like here you can see that I kind of made it come together as a braid. That wasn't intentional, but I kind of like it. But you have to be careful of that because like if you go crazy with that, um, your hair is not going to make much sense. It's not going to look realistic. But I think in this case it's kind of cool because it does kind of look like a braid. That was unintentional, happy accident. So I'm happy enough with that that I feel like I can move on to some of the scarier parts. And in my mind, the scary part is the hand. So I want to knock that out so that I can feel comfortable with that and move on to some of the other pieces. So her hand does come up, and then her pinky finger comes around, and it comes down kind of like so. Yeah, I think that's right. And then it comes back up and across. You know, she's kind of got some long fingers. And then her, what is it, ring finger comes across and touches the thumb of her other hand. And then again comes back. And then her index finger is actually under her chin and comes down and kind of extends out, I think, like that. I think that's what I'm going with, at least. And then this one needs to come up and form this knuckle here. And then this comes down. I think that's about right. I think. I don't know. I don't know. I am never good at these things. So I should probably practice drawing like this so that I'm not getting my hand in the muck of it, but that's not really what the goal is tonight. The goal is just to draw a human being that doesn't look like a monster. Whoops. Probably shouldn't be holding the pencil when... So I can get rid of some of these lines because I'm not going to need them. Now that I've got, you know, the basic form. So they call that composition, I guess. And again, I didn't go to school for this, so it's not like I learned all the terms and stuff. But one of the things I do know is that if you're going to create something that's visually interesting, you kind of want to give it a nice composition. And the triangle look is a really good composition, whether you're doing a photo or whether you're doing a drawing, like if you're taking somebody's picture or something. If you can meld their body into a shape that has this kind of symmetry to it, it really helps. It really helps make the picture just look cooler. And that's really what this is all about. Just making a cool picture that I can say, hey, look what I created. Because that's what this channel is all about. Random acts of creativity. That's the little slogan I came up with. And that's what I'm going with. Because it is pretty random. I don't know how it's going to go each time. So this is all kind of shadow here. The base of her hand. The part that isn't shadow is her thumb. It kind of comes down and wraps around and kind of touches this finger here. She's got a fingernail, and then the bottom of it is a little bit shaded. And then her finger from in there kind of comes down as well. So I'm going to work on the thumb a little bit because I'm not happy with it. But I'm going to move on into the bottom of her hand. I think I can clean some of this up. I want it to look like a thumb. So I'm going to erase some of this. What kind of sucks is like whenever I come in with an eraser, you can tell in the time lapse, where I screwed up. It's like, even though it flashes by for like one frame, you're like, oh, he messed up. He brought out the eraser. But that's okay. I mean, it is what it is. So I'm just going to kind of soften this up a little bit. I think I can add a little bit of shadow through there. And I think this forearm actually will come around and kind of, yeah, I think that's better. Yeah, I think that's kind of cool. It's almost, she's not praying, but it's almost like she's just resting her head on her hands. So there's some shadow in there, and I think I've got enough graphite in here where I can just make that shadow with the lead that's already there, or graphite, or whatever. Like I always heard lead pencils, but I don't think they're actually made out of lead. I think the proper way to refer to them is graphite. So I'm trying to get in the habit of doing that as well. So just kind of smoothing out some of these features, getting rid of some of these extra lines. Okay. And then this side is going to be a lot of shadow as well. So let me go ahead and sketch in. So that actually comes around. This is all shadow through here. And then the bottom, I'm going to bring her hand up a little bit actually. Kind of give this some roundness. I think that'll help with that thumb. Yeah, what's cool is like you can kind of go back over these lines and fix them up by adding shadow. It's going to be a line, and then this is actually going to come up a little bit more than what I originally imagined. And then we're going to start getting her frilly dress, as I call it. Basically, the sleeves of her shoulder dress, or whatever. Okay, so this is going to come up a little bit more and then wrap around. This is her shoulder. I know it looks like part of her dress, but it's going to come around into her hair. Alright, let's kind of smooth some of this in so it's not so sketchy and see how that looks. Now, if I was just doing like a quick sketch, I wouldn't care about softening it up, but because I have the time and it is a fairy, it's kind of important, at least in my mind, to soften some of these edges. Okay, I'm going to come back with this. We're going to draw the chest area here in a second, but I want to get this arm right first. Yeah, lead. I didn't think it was lead. I mean, we always called them lead growing up, but it's not lead. Like pencil lead, and I think even with mechanical pencils, when you go to buy lead for it, you call it lead, even though it's not. It's graphite. But you know, I think that's good. I mean, that's supposed to like be less harmful or something. I don't know. I really don't know. This is not an educational show. You are not going to learn anything watching me. If you do learn something, it's purely by accident. Okay, so I'm going to do more with that, but I think at this point I want to kind of finish up in here because on this side she also has a sleeve that comes around. So this sleeve, more like that. It's not as dark. So let me erase some of that. Oops. Hey, reminded me of my bourbons here. Okay. So this is light, but then go ahead and add a little bit of shadow to that. So the shadow kind of comes through. She's got a neck that extends down from her finger. And then this is all in shadow here because her hand is actually casting shadow. This is all shadow. But then there's also parts that are darker shadow as well. So while I'm roughing in shadow here, I'm going to actually create some definition by getting a softer pencil. I'm going to go with the 6 one, I guess. So this is actually where her shoulder meets her chest. And there's a bit of a crease coming into that dress, the frilly dress, I would call it. And this isn't really cleavage, but that's where the cleavage would go. Again, this is This may end up going to like a niece of mine, so I want to keep it kind of PG. But I mean, there are nude fairies. Um, they live in nature. That's nature. Any tattoos? Probably not on this one. A lot of times, you may see a fairy drawn with a tattoo, and the reason why I say not on this one is not because like I don't think that she would have one. I think she would probably, but I don't know where I would put it. I could put it on her thigh or her upper shoulder, but since this picture is so small, I don't really think. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll put in a tattoo just to see. You know, this is supposed to be for like learning. So her shoulder comes up, and this part I'm drawing here, this is where her breast would come down, and then her breasts are actually squeezed between her shoulders. So I'm really just drawing the shoulders. You wouldn't see any sort of like cleavage or anything like that. And then, of course, the shadow coming off the hands, and then the shadow coming in here. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, so that doesn't look terrible. I'm okay with that. And then, again, her dress comes here and around, so I'm just going to kind of add a darker line. I want it down further, so I kind of drew it too far up. I want it to come through maybe more like that, which means I need to grab my 2B Avatar, the movie. I haven't seen the new Avatar movie, so don't spoil it. The first one was pretty good, especially for the time. It was a technological marvel, and that's what I'm hearing of the new one, but I haven't seen it yet. So I'm going to go back to my mechanical pencil. I don't want it to just be frilly. I want it to kind of look like she lives in nature. So I'm going to add some roughness to it. Just kind of like, I don't know, she flies through the weeds or whatever and it get kind of eaten up a bit. So I'm just kind of freehanding what that might look like. It's almost like fringe, but not quite fringe. I don't know. It's just eaten up a little bit by smashing through the trees, running away from maybe a hawk or something. I don't know. Maybe birds chase fairies. I'm not a fairy. I don't know what they do. I can imagine they're afraid of hawks. Never saw that in any of the Peter Pan movies, but I can imagine they're basically like a little bit larger than insects, so whatever scares insects would scare fairies in my mind. Frogs maybe? Gigantic frogs? Like maybe not your normal frog, but a very large frog or snapping turtle or something. Like if they landed on, it almost looks like she has a shoulder pad now, but that's actually her shoulder. So let me kind of make that look more like a shoulder. Kind of smooth out some of these shadows in here. Like a lot of this doesn't translate to the camera, so it's not like you guys would notice if I didn't shadow that in, but I think it's good too. So I kind of want to add shadow here to the bottom of her arm. Yeah, so you don't really even see her breasts, so like you can imagine them being whatever size you want. In my mind, they're not very large because she needs to be able to fly. And that might be challenging with very large breasts. But, you know, this is fantasy artwork, so, like, that is a common trope of fantasy artwork. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to draw. Now, this part is actually maybe the underside of her rib cage. So again, not her breasts, because like her breasts would be more pinned in by her shoulders. So this would be more like it would come down through here, and then this is where I'm thinking of an anatomy. I don't really see the reference. She's wearing a dress. Um, but I would imagine, like, you could look at these lines I'm drawing and think breast, but they're really like rib cage. And then abdomen. So I'm just going to kind of shade that in because I know that that's going to be draped in shadows. And then all of this is going to be draped in shadows because that comes off of her dress top. And then I think her hair will come back around through here. And then what's cool about hair is I do kind of like to draw these lines to kind of show the shape of the hair. Like in my mind, drawing this line here lets me know that this hair wraps around and comes all the way down and then probably kind of like curls back or something like that. But I haven't drawn the wings yet, so I don't really know where they stop and where they don't. Right now, she could be from Avatar or a Native American or something like that, like Pocahontas type deal, because she doesn't have the wings. The wings are what makes her a fairy, I think. So when it comes to doing clothing, it's really just like folds and creases. Like I'm going to have this crease come down and then kind of fall down here. And then there's going to be a bit of a bump up here. And then they're going to come around here and just kind of catch the upper part of her other thigh. And then of course this thigh, let's see, am I happy with the shape of this leg? Yeah, I'm happy enough. Okay, so that thigh is the back thigh. The back thigh is all shadow because it is under arms and hidden away and all of that. So let me bring in her elbow. So yeah, and then of course her dress itself, there's kind of a dip here, and I'm going to add a little bit more graphite here. Give her some Red Bull. She will have Red Bull or else she won't have wings. I love that comment. See, this is why I think it's fun, you know, doing a live stream, because like, I mean, I could be watching TV while I draw or something like that, but it's much more fun to interact with people. So I appreciate you, Richard. Like, it's very nice that you come in here and hang out with me. And you know, maybe we'll get some more in the future as well. Lorraine was in here earlier. Friday night, quite a few people dropped in. That's probably because Ben showed me on his channel, and he's got a lot more subscribers. But I'm looking towards the future. You know, in the future, I think it would be kind of cool to, you know, to have some viewers and have them come in and spend time with me, and we all just build a community. I think that's what I'm looking for. Build a community. So yeah, I think that's kind of cool. Alright, so let me erase some of this off of her leg. Now that I kind of know the shape of her leg. I don't think that... So you run the risk of drawing really thick thighs. I wouldn't imagine a fairy to have really thick thighs, so I'm trying to be very conscious of that and not draw them too thick. Not that there's anything wrong with thick thighs, it's just for a fairy to fly, I want her to be somewhat light. So that's the outside of her leg. And then a lot of this is just shadow, so I'm just going to add some graphite down and then blend her leg, because there's not a lot of detail to her leg. The leg's supposed to be smooth. So I don't want all these sketch marks, like, hey, thanks, Richard. I appreciate you. Well, Harry said that, but the other thing is, I hope you guys forgive me for repeating myself a lot. I'm just kind of talking, like the only person listening to me right now is my dog. So like when you're talking to somebody in person, I feel like, you get that instant feedback from talking to somebody in person that you don't get when you're talking to yourself. So when you're talking to yourself, you're going to ramble, you're going to repeat yourself, all of that stuff. Hopefully that doesn't annoy you guys, because that's what you get. Alright, so I think that's kind of nice. I mean, it's smoothed out her leg and kind of like blended in, the shape of her leg with her buttocks. I'm going to have to learn these proper terms. I'll just call it her butt. Kind of blends in her thigh to her butt. There is some curve there. It probably doesn't translate very well on camera, but that's intentional. Let's see, and then the bottom of her dress, and then I'll come back and do like the other parts of her legs here in a minute. But the bottom of her dress the folds just kind of gather, right? So there's going to be some folds here, and kind of I'm okay with that. I think it would be cool. So like I'm not there yet. Lightweight with the agility, yeah, definitely. Um, I have no pretense of being there anytime soon, but if I'm setting goals, I would like at one point to get to where I feel comfortable not just drawing pictures, but actually building a storyline and making a graphic novel or something of that nature that I can take to a Comic Con. It doesn't. I don't even care about getting readers or anything like that. That's not what it's about. It's that I go to Comic Con as a spectator. I'm going to be talking about like comics a lot on here, so forgive me for that too. But um, I do go to Comic Cons just because I appreciate other artists, and I like to walk around local Comic Cons especially and look for local artists, and that's the kind of comics I like to collect, because I feel like I'm supporting the local artists more than like Marvel or something like that. Um, Marvel's never going to hurt by me not purchasing their comics. They're doing just fine. But local artists, they're not struggling, but they need more support. So it would be kind of nice to go to a Comic Con. So I do that already, but it would be kind of nice to go to a Comic Con as a participant instead of just like a spectator. Instead of walking around checking out all the booths that. Oh, is it? No, Guinness is over there sleeping. I don't know if you can see him. He's like right there. He does know what is important. Um, yeah, so it'd be kind of cool to like actually have a booth at some point. That would be kind of neat. It's like bucket list items. But I know I'm not ready for that yet, so I'll just keep working on it. If you're going to have a booth, you have to populate it with stuff, which means you have to produce, which is what this show's all about. Just creating something creative every week. All right. So I'm kind of happy with that. I think it looks kind of cool. So I feel comfortable moving on to the rest of her leg, which there is a line there, but it's not that dark. So I'm just going to use my blending pencil, for lack of a better term, kind of blend in some soft lines. In fact, I'll probably come off and erase some of this extra bit here in a bit. And then I'll come back and add some other details. It's funny because like going into these things, I never know how it's going to turn out. I don't know if it's going to be a successful piece or if it's just going to end completely terribly. So far, it's not going that bad. I'm not the best judge of my own artwork. That I leave that to others. But I am not going to beat myself up over how these things are turning out. So she does have some kind of like curve here. What is this, the calf? Yeah, so she's got a bit of a curve for the calf. And then there is some, this is too dark. Well, let me go with the lighter pencil because I don't want that to go too dark. And then she's got some shape to her knee. I don't want that to be too dark. I may have to erase some of that. No, I think that's fine. Because I'll add some shadow in here to give that more definition. Because this bit is a bit more shadow. I don't know what I was saying. But I was saying I think you never know what you're going to end up getting out of your work. But so far I've been pretty lucky. I don't think anything I've created so far is that bad. It all can use some improvement, and as I'm going through this, I'm spotting things that I would like to improve without, you know. Yeah, thank you. I feel like I'm on the right path. Really, the more you do this stuff, the more comfortable you are with it. And a lot of it's just, you know, confidence with what you're doing. And I have a little bit of confidence. I know that I'm okay enough to just hop on camera and create something from scratch. But also, I don't feel like I'm there yet to, you know, go further and maybe set up a booth somewhere and show off my artwork or anything like that. I'm not there yet. That's the long-term stuff. So I'm going to go back to my mechanical pencil, and I'm going to try to add some shape to her toes. She does have 5 of them, as all fairies do, because they're based on human beings. But they're very close together. And I don't have to put a lot of detail because like the focal is obviously here, not down here. So I don't have to go crazy. She's got this one little tiny pinky toe. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. I always count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2. Put in another toe here. No, that would be wrong. That's drawing what I think, not what I know. Not what I see. See? Gotta fix that up. Try that again. One of these days, I will master feet and toes. I don't know which is harder, feet or toes. Not feet or toes, feet or hands. I don't make a habit of drawing feet. Like, this is probably the only time I ever have the opportunity of drawing a bare foot. I don't know why. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I mean, I just don't encounter a lot of bare feet. Most people wear shoes. I don't really draw a lot of full figures. You know, I might draw the face or a part of the body or something like that, not really like the entire body. So I think that looks kind of cool, you know. You know, this would make a cool tattoo, and to be honest, I would totally get this as a tattoo. Uh, Maybe at like the top of your arm or something like that. Like a shoulder, not a shoulder piece. That's a back piece. Yeah, shoulder or upper arm. You can see I'm not a tattoo artist either. But no, this is the kind of stuff that I think would make a cool tattoo. All right, so now that I got that, before I move into, I'm going to go ahead and kind of pencil in what I think might be the wings, because I'm getting at that point where I'm going to be blending wings in with the, how long has this been on, by the way? Let's see. I have no idea. Oh, okay. An hour, 10, 15 minutes. So I think now's a good point to kind of pencil in her her wings. Now her wings, I think, would come out of her back here. So even though it's going to be covered up by hair, I kind of want to draw behind it. And I kind of want it to go straight up because she's got this triangle going on already. I don't want it to come out too far to the side. And again, in my mind, she's just got basic butterfly wings. I don't think you can go too wrong with this because, again, this is a fake mythological creature. So nobody really knows what fairies look like. So I think that's a good position for her wing. And then you've got the other part of the butterfly wing. I don't know what kind of butterfly this would be. But then you've got the bottom part that comes out kind of down here. And I'm going to add some more hair here, I think, to kind of obscure the bottom of that. Yeah. So I think that's cool. Again, I don't draw butterflies either, so I don't really know what a butterfly wing's supposed to look like, but I think that's good. And then, of course, you know, she's not going to get very far if she doesn't have the other wing. I think the other wing can just kind of come out of her head and kind of mimic the basic shape of the other one. You wouldn't see this bottom one. You would just see this this top bit. So yeah, I think that's cool. All right, so now that I know where that's going to be, I can have more fun with the hair. I want to give it a little bit more body, I think. I'm not too worried about the hair so much because I don't feel like you can mess it up too bad. I do want it kind of to be wavy and kind of come around. And then this part down here, I want it to be less wavy and then kind of you really can't do this wrong because it's just hair. Hair does hair things. I do want it to be kind of curly. I do kind of want it to poof off like that. So I think I'm happy with that. So that's kind of cool, I think. And then, you know, you look at where the shadows would be. So you got like this bulbous hair sticking out here. You draw some strands in there to give it some definition. And I think that's kind of a neat way of doing hair. And then I never like it to be perfect, so I throw in like a little extra strand, a little hair going off over here, that sort of thing, just to give it some shape. And then same deal like through here. I might have this come down. Just hair going all over the place. Which I think is fine. You know, that's what hair does. It kind of has a mind of its own. And I think those little details help sell the work, you know, because you're creating an impression of reality, even though this doesn't actually exist. You want it to look realistic. As if it would exist in real life. And I think we're doing that. Especially if you're doing a tattoo. So like you would have these kind of like lines. Yeah. Can't think of any movies besides Peter Pan that would have fairies in them. I know there are some. I've seen some. Well, besides Disney movies, things like that, animated movies. I'm talking about like live action fairies. Doesn't come up all that often. So technically she could be blonde. I'm picturing maybe red hair or yeah, it could be blonde. And then, you know, a white dress. Like I know that this is just like black and white and everything, but I would have totally done those in blue if I was using colored pencil just to give her a white dress. Okay, that's looking good. Thinking of how to do these wings. So there's some structure to the wings. Part of it's like um, they're almost like window panes, but there's also some structure to them. I'm going to try to draw that. I am using a reference picture for butterfly wings because I do not draw butterfly wings often. I can't just think up like, oh, what would a butterfly wing look like? I don't know if it would actually look like this. I think that's fine. I want it to be kind of consistent with the other side. Fairy tales, exactly. I should give her like a little like squirrel tail coming out the back. That would be cool. Okay, and then kind of the same deal with this. Comes down. So this kind of has these type things coming in. Okay, so I'm happy enough with that to where I feel like there's some basic structure there. I'm going to come in with a light pencil, and I'm not going to add like a lot of shading to this part yet, but I am going to make these wings. Now I don't want to add like too much shadow or too much graphite to these wings because in my mind they're kind of see-through. And then it's also not the focal point. So the focal point is probably like her face coming down and stuff like that. So if these are translucent, which is what I have in my mind, you wouldn't see a lot of shadow to them. And you'd see a little shadow where they overlap. And you'd see a lot of shadow coming off the body because I do believe the light source is over there. And that shadow would kind of follow the curves, not curves, but the lines of the structure. So these are what I would almost think of as like planes of glass. Let me finish up this hair. I want that hair to kind of curl back around, actually. Let that curl back around her hair. And then I feel like I can erase this part. I was going to have it swoop back out, but I don't like that. I like it just coming back around her back and then kind of disappearing into the other side of her back. I like that better. So I know I was working on the wings, but this is sort of working on the wings because I'm kind of blending in the two parts. Yeah, I'm cool with that. Okay, so back to shading the wings. Yeah, I like my approach here. So I'm just kind of yeah, flutter by fairy. Exactly, exactly. What is a butterfly if not a flutterby? I love that comment. So again, I want these wings to be kind of transparent. If I did do all of the environment, I would picture there being like a lot of light and her glowing and so on. In which case, these wings would be all aglow because they're powered by pixie dust and there'd be a big old light shown on her. So this is kind of like sketched in. I kind of want to smooth that out because again it is very transparent, so making this super smooth does not bother me. Like if her entire face and body and stuff were all super smooth, I would consider that not right. But because this is in the background, I don't mind smoothing this stuff. I don't want this to be too rough. Yeah, I think I could probably get away with doing comic book art the more I practice. I mean, comic books aren't just drawings though; they're also stories, and the drawings are. Maybe I'll try a comic book at some or a comic book panel at some point, or just like some comic book characters. I like comic book characters, so I like this because the wings are all super soft compared to the hard parts of the focal points, and I think that works. So I'm pretty happy with this. I'm actually thinking it's pretty close to being considered done enough. Let me go ahead and erase the triangle I had going earlier. Oops. So at this point, I could have her sitting on a flower or a leaf or something of that nature. I think I am going to go ahead and add that very subtly. I don't know what that would look like. I think if she was sitting on a leaf, and I'm not going to do too much with it, I'm just going to kind of hint at it. Like a leaf would be coming off here, and you know, kind of be coming up like that. And then so I think she'd be sitting on a leaf, and it would kind of look like that. I think this center stem of the leaf would come up more with her body. So let me get rid of this. Some professional artist I am. Look at all the erasing that dude's doing. So I do think that there would be kind of a little leaf she's sitting on. She's not exactly in the center of the leaf, which is unfortunate. I don't mind just sketching that in. And then I would have, like, you know, kind of a stem coming up, and maybe like a flower up here. Hey, thanks, Lorraine. I appreciate that. Thank you, Richard. Oh, a mushroom. That would have been perfect. Ah, you know what? I kind of wish I had put her on a mushroom. Yeah, I'm just gonna. This is just like kind of a rough flower. I might have actually messed this picture up, but that's okay. So anyway, this is to kind of like let you know that she is in nature. Kind of, I don't know. She's in nature. What can I say? But yeah, before I screw this up even more, just kind of define a flower here. Before I screw this up anymore, I think I think I am going to call it done enough, so that I can end the stream and feel somewhat satisfied with this. I am going to remove some of these lines off her face. I don't know. What do you guys think? Does that look like a fairy? I wouldn't even call these accidents. Like, if I had actually spent the time, I could make these flowers look more realistic. I regret adding them as a like a sketch, because I knew I wasn't going to actually do them, but I'm happy enough with it. I think it's cool. And, you know, kind of give her some bit of shadow here, more shadow on the back side, just to have her sitting somewhere. I don't know. What do you guys think? Pretty cool? All right. Let me go ahead and sign it, I guess, because I have to sign all of my work, even the ones that aren't all that great. And I think we'll call that done. So again, I really appreciate you guys coming out. I'll post this up on the internet here in a few, so you guys can see more of the details. And then I'll try to get a short together, which is kind of like a condensed time lapse of the picture coming together, and I'll post that up on the community tab as well. So again, thank you guys very much for hanging out with me. It's been my pleasure hanging out with you guys. You've been great. Until next time, I think that might be Tuesday, but don't hold me to it. Definitely Friday. I am committing